Hey guys, welcome to this first training vlog. My name is Travis Gardner. I'm going to be taking you guys along on my journey to get back into competitive form. I'm a former elite, pre-elite rower, having won national championships 3 times, two at the senior and once at the intermediate level. And also have a Canadian Henley championship under my belt, and then have been a professional coach for about 12 years and have led U17, U19, and intermediate athletes to national championships as well in the double, pair, and single, respectively. But like many people, as I've gotten older, I've lost a little bit of touch with my own training and fitness, and have spent the last year kind of gradually getting back into a rhythm program. Peaked out about 204, 205 pounds from my average about 151, 152 natural weight when I was competing. And so the last year I've been kind of easing myself back in, doing a little bit of work a couple times a week. Sometimes I've been more regular, but not really that much in terms of volume. Maybe every once in a while getting something more than 45 minutes. But for the most part, things in the 10, 15, 20, maybe 40-minute range. Have been doing a little bit of yoga, some calisthenic strength work, but want to really kind of get into things more seriously. I've also started a channel which I would encourage you to check out if you're interested in some more in-depth information about the sport, and that is Rowing Resource. And you can find that on YouTube. It's also a podcast. And I've been using that really just to kind of share my knowledge of the sport to as many people as we can, because coaching really is in short supply in the sport of rowing, and certainly knowledge and advanced knowledge in coaching is in short supply. Certainly for people who are going into a career, you're usually coming in with a university degree, but there's really not much of an equivalent for that in rowing. And so my efforts beyond this vlog have really been in changing that and trying to get some more information out there to you guys to supplement the other great stuff that you can find out there on the internet. But a lot of my work is going to be focused on more of the everyman. I think a lot of the information out there about rowing is very derivative of elite training and elite theory, and it doesn't really apply to kind of the average overweight, underflexible, not very experienced individual out there that's seeking to just live a more fit lifestyle. And so that's where I kind of find myself these days. And granted, I'm going to be trying to get a little bit more into the competitive scene as we go through this winter, hop into some indoor races, because fortunately for me, I've always enjoyed indoor rowing and on the erg, as opposed to some other people who curse it. But I've always felt the indoor rowing has been this great tool because of all the feedback that you can get from it and the controlled training environment. And so I'm going to be going through my process and sharing it with you guys, and hopefully allowing you to kind of ride along with me as I go on this journey, and to share my theories and training ideas as we go through to help you guys, and hopefully as somebody who's not an Olympic medalist and not aspiring to be, maybe give you a little bit more grounded feedback in that process. And I think the workouts are going to kind of reflect that, certainly as we start at a very modest volume that's a bit more achievable for somebody with a career, with a family. I have a 3-year-old myself trying to get a business off the ground, and so something that kind of really reflects the time availability for the normal person out there, so perhaps you. But hope you enjoy this journey with me, and we're going to dive into my first workout today, which is just going to be 15 minutes of aerobic work on the erg. I did 30 minutes yesterday, kind of starting at 30 minutes as my longer work on the erg, and going to be alternating between a shorter day and a longer day as I build up the volume for what those longer days would be, so that I can get in 60 minutes on a regular basis, which I think is a kind of a core volume for athletes in an aerobic sport. But we're going to get going, so I'm going to dress out, get the erg set up, and give you guys a little bit of video of that rowing, and we can dive into training vlog episode 1. All right, we're set up, ready to go. Just doing a UT2 pace today, so it's kind of like a good firm effort. Not quite conversational. You could talk, but if you talk for more than a sentence or two, it should kind of disrupt your breathing. So generally something that's sustainable, something that's consistent. I like to use a low drag. My drag is probably set somewhere between 80-85 right now, and stroke rates generally going to be between 18 and 20. And I'm going to take a nice easy warm-up. Since I'm only doing 15 minutes today, the warm-up will probably take half of that, if not 10 minutes, and then just kind of settle into a decent pace after that. Today's meant to kind of be a slower, easy day, so that it's easier to build volume on my alternating days, starting at that 30 minutes, trying to get up to 60 regularly, as quickly as possible. Kind of the key for me in this next phase of my training is just consistency. So I've put in some good work in the last year, but it's kind of all over the place, and so a lot of 10-20 minute workouts, and I'll throw in a 40 or 50, maybe a 60-minute workout on a rare occasion, but at least 50% of the stuff I've been doing is just like 10-20 minutes. And so I want to get into a consistent place where I'm getting in a workout at least 6 days a week, if not 7, and just kind of let that fitness build from there. So I'll get started. My little girl is taking a nap upstairs, so hopefully she sleeps through this and we can get some good video and enjoy, and we'll talk a little bit when I'm done. go inside because they're mowing next door. So yeah, that felt pretty good. Like I said, it was just supposed to be an easy day. I think an error a lot of people make is just going kind of to the same effort level no matter what day it is. So an easy day is just easy because it's short and you're kind of going the same speed you would on a hard day, but that's not the best way to do it. Like, easy days should be easy. So the pace should be slower than your longer days. Essentially, when it comes to steady state, when it comes to that UT2, the longer you're going, higher effort level should be, at least in my estimation. So the longest row you do every week should also be the fastest row you're doing every week, and then any recovery day should be a good bit slower. So because I'm such at low volume now, it might not be as much slower than my longer days, but right now I'm going about 206 pace for my 30 minutes of work, and so I'm trying to think about being about 210 for today. My monitor is broken on this erg, so I'm waiting on a new one. So they're gonna split, but I've been using a friend's erg. That's how I knew kind of where I was there. But otherwise, felt pretty good. Felt a little bit of discomfort in my wrist, kind of like a tendon stress when I took that catch and had that suspension. So I'll keep an eye on that. I have been doing some calisthenic strength work, and calisthenics tends to put a bit of strain on those wrist muscles, just because you're in that kind of flex position, whether you're doing handstands or push-ups or anything like that. But yeah, so I'm gonna sit down, do a little bit of focus on my hips, hip flexors, my core, and then I'll do some Asian squats, which I think are key for rowers to be able to do. It's a good flex, good bit of flexibility. Hit your hips, hit your ankles, hit your knees all at the same time. So stretches, I like to stretch out my hips a lot. It's kind of my favorite stretches, so kind of do this Indian sit, one leg over the other. Since I do this a lot, I'm pretty flexible in there, so if you're just starting out, you can kind of do something, put the legs in here, just kind of sit forward. Should be stretching out this muscle on the glute of the leg that's higher. Just kind of lean into it. I like to hold stretches for longer, about 45 to 60 seconds at a time. So I'll just kind of skip forward as I go through these with you guys. Alright, so next stretch, I think this is key for anybody that's involved in rowing, and honestly I think it's really important for general health for anybody, regardless of whether you're active as an athlete or not. But the Asian squat is key, and I think you'll see it a lot in kind of Middle East Asian cultures. Like, people will just naturally sit here kind of in rest. Because kind of in the more westernized cultures, we spend so much time sitting on chairs that we kind of lose that kind of natural flexibility. And you'll see this, little kids, toddlers just do this naturally. They'll kind of sit on their haunches, but it really hits all the flexibility points that you need in rowing: ankles, knees, hips. And so with my athletes, I really try to get them comfortable again if they've lost that, and make sure that we're maintaining it. If they are already good at it, or tweaking it in the way that we need to be most healthy. But for me, I can't quite get in there without some assistance, and so the Asian squat, feet about shoulder width apart, just sitting on your haunches. Chest should be up, heels should be flat. If you can't keep your heels flat, then use a supplement. So I'm holding the rail of the deck here to kind of hold myself steady, and I'm just kind of just that kind of point of my comfort zone with the stretch. You don't want to, I don't believe you should be making stretches super uncomfortable. You should kind of get to the end range of your motion and just spend a little time there, and that will kind of help increase your comfort at that degree of flexion. And the more time you spend in that place, the more your body will be able to kind of sit there in a comfortable way. And certainly for rowers, this compressed state, is what we expect to be at the catch, to have a really good catch. And if it takes effort to get to the catch, then that's effort that you're not using for creating impulse through the drive. And so this will kind of cause a lot of issues for rush coming into the front end. Athletes, if you're not comfortable just sitting at the catch, then they'll pull themselves into the catch, which will cause a lot of rush in the boat. It might also result in some check if they're then starting to push before their blades are in because they bounced into the catch. Pull yourself in, kind of bounce out. And so with a lot of athletes, I see a lot of coaches talk to athletes about rushing the catch. They just think it's a choice, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just a degree of what their body is capable of at that time. And so with the athletes that I'm talking to, certainly experienced athletes that have a lot of issue with rush, maybe athletes in the first, second year varsity rowing, certainly novice athletes, I'll just say, spend 5 minutes a day sitting in an Asian squat. You can do it at home, watching TV, do it after practice. I definitely encourage people to stretch more when you're warm than before practice when you're cool. But just spend some time. And if not too many people want to do that for 5 minutes straight. And so what I'll do is I'll just do it in 1 minute sections. So I'll just say, do 5 sets of 1 minute sitting in the Asian squat. Hold on to something. You do not want to do it kind of sitting where I am now, where I'm kind of a little bit on my toes, because I don't have quite the flexibility to sit on my heels without falling backwards. So I'm still working on getting that back too, but you can kind of work on a little wider stance maybe. It's a little bit easier for me. You can also raise the heels a little bit, and that makes the Asian squat a touch easier. Best thing is just to hold something so that you can keep yourself forward, find that in range of your comfort zone, and just spend some time there without falling over. You're not going to help yourself if you do these with your heels up, or kind of like sitting. I'll see a lot of people like on their heels and they're just kind of struggling to keep their balance. Don't worry about it. All right, just don't worry about not holding on to something. Use help if you need it. Sit on your heels, spend some time in that stretch. It'll probably take a year, might take a year and a half, 2 years for you to get fully adapted, depending on how inflexible you are with your start. It's a long process. Any kind of thing with flexibility is a long process, but you got to put in the time, and the best way to do it is just a little bit every single day. So just checked upstairs on the little one. She's still napping, so I'm going to take this chance to do a little bit of strength work today. I'm going to do some squats, I'm going to do some push-ups. I think both are kind of pretty critical to do regular basis for any rowers. Bodyweight squats you can be doing on a daily basis, and should, if you're not doing anything heavier in the gym. Bodyweight squats every day that you're not doing hard anaerobic work are going to be good for you. The push-ups are great to kind of develop that chest strength to balance out all the work that you're doing in the back. A lot of rowers and coaches will really diss the bench press, any of kind of those chest workouts, because the rowing stroke is not a pushing motion, which is true, but any imbalance in your body is going to set yourself up for injury, and you get a lot of work through the back with your strokes, in the lats and the triceps, and so there's a lot of repetitions, a lot of strength that you're getting in on those muscles. And if you're not balancing them out by strengthening out the front of your chest, you're really going to set yourself up for getting injured. And so things like rib stress fractures are going to be really common for athletes that are putting in good volume without doing any kind of attention to the front end. And so get good at the push-ups, bench press. I actually find incline bench press to be much better for me in my rowing to prevent rib stress fractures. The bench press doesn't quite get the angle that I want to kind of work those intercostals, which are going to be good for supporting the power of the rowing stroke and balancing out what's happening with the ribs. So go through a little of that with you, and let's dive in. Fresh strawberry from the garden. That's good. All right, second sip. So I'm just gonna be doing 3 sets today. Just doing this to kind of what I call to discomfort. So just going until it starts to get hard, but not really pushing super hard through that. I think when I started out, I was doing maybe 15, 20 bodyweight squats, doing 8 at a time on the push-ups. And so you're just constantly kind of working to discomfort, take a long break, catch your breath, and hop in and do it again, and just try to accumulate reps. Don't be in a rush. If you're just getting back into it, circuits, I'm not a big fan of circuits for strength training. I don't really believe in incorporating an aerobic component into your strength training. It might be good for like general fitness, but not really good for specific sport related fitness to do that. Like your aerobic work really just needs to be centered around the activity that you're doing or something similar to it. So just here, catch my breath, enjoy the sun, and getting ready for set number 3. All right, so I'm gonna be signing off. The little one is awake. Say hi, love. Yeah, she's shy. So that's it for day one. Got my exercise in while the little one was napping. It's part of, I think, trying to be fit when you got life going on and you're not in your early 20s anymore. Just kind of fit in when you can. But that's it for today. Hopefully this helped you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.